All right. Hey, first time I'm ever making a video from the classroom. I'm doing it during my prep hour, just so people have access to what they need to study for the quiz tomorrow. So anyway, you're looking at my class page right now, and at this point, I just want to show you a couple things. We are still in Unit 1. And if you scroll down, we finished our 22nd day of class. And what the assessment's going to be on will be the materials from day 14 to day 22. So nothing too lengthy. I just want to point out, I do have small videos attached to every day. So for instance, if you were absent or you had an off day or just need more clarification, you can click on any of these videos. In particular, one I want to point out is a wrap up of the ancient civilizations. I think that would be time well spent. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pretend I'm you. You click on my class page, you go to the study guide for assessment number 3. I'm going to take you through it real quick here. So here it is. I move myself. There you go. There I am. Okay, so the first question, the ancient civilizations contribute to the world today. And again, these are the foundational groups that contributed inventions and innovations and insights that we still use today. That's called collective learning. So I'm going to go down the line. And again, there is a more comprehensive video for each section if you need that. Mesopotamia, the very first of the civilizations, and the Mesopotamians were pioneers in writing with Gilgamesh and Hammurabi along the Tigris and Euphrates River in Iraq, and they're considered the first civilization in history, and the ziggurat and those sorts of things. So again, I'm looking for those items for the ancient civilizations. Ancient Egypt along the Nile River. The ancient Egyptians gave us some inventions, for example, 365-day calendar and paper, and really some foundational things that we use today. And Indus Valley, masters of water. This morning, if you took a shower, brush your teeth, that's essentially Indus Valley technology in ancient China, which brought civilization to the Far East. And we call these first 4 civilizations the River Valley civilizations because they started along river, and they're the first 4 civilizations in history. And soon after, the Aksum. Now, the Aksum were a group of people from Northeast Africa who were master traders in currency. And although the language is lost, one of the Persian visitors said they're one of the 4 great civilizations in history. And so the Aksum, think trading, think money, think salt. Hittites, masters of shaping metal. They were able to manipulate metal in all sorts of different ways. And there's an adage about history: the more metal, the more civilized. Ancient Hebrews, obviously glass, the manipulation of glass, but this notion of rule of law. People come and go, laws stay the same, everybody follows the law in the form of the 10 Commandments and the 613 rules of the Torah. And then they also had the first form of checks and balances in history called the Sanhedrin. And Persia was the biggest, baddest thing ever. I mean, they were poised to take over the world until the Greeks stopped them. And the Persians had some really innovative ideas. Probably one of the more important ones is federalism, power residing at different levels of government. And that's the 10th Amendment of our Constitution. We have some federal, U.S. Postal Service, U.S. military, state, my hunting license, my driver's license, say Michigan, and how many dogs can you have in Livonia versus Farmington Hills local. And that's a Persian innovation. So again, I'm not going to go into full detail. I do have a full video about those from a couple days ago. Now, in terms of the Geo Histogram, I better go get one. Excuse me a second. I'm walking quickly here. Should have had one ready. Getting it. Coming. Yeah, that would have been smart to have one out there ready, but I didn't. All right. So here's our picture of Geo Histogram. Now, again, the western part of our story here, we can really trace our roots to the Greeks. And again, here's, I don't know, it's not great with the, here's the Greeks. okay? And we can trace it from America to the ancient Greeks. Greece segued into Rome. When Rome fell, the Byzantines have a bit of a disconnect here in medieval times. Holy Roman Church and the Habsburgs blend into the European empires, and then we were a colony of England. So you can directly trace our culture all the way to Greece. And the Greeks are like our great grandparents, if you will, in that analogy. So I'm going to ask you to do the same thing tomorrow. And so that's number 2. Now, number 3, what innovations did the Greeks contribute? What didn't they contribute in terms of the classes you take? The notion of a legislature, jury, the Olympic Games, Hippocrates, medicine. You still take the Hippocratic Oath if you go into medicine. Herodotus, the first historian. Philosophy, and again, Spas. Socrates taught Plato. Plato taught Aristotle. And these are the 3 men most responsible for the thinking of Western civilization. The classes you take: rhetoric, comedy, tragedy. And there's an adage I give: teaching American students about Greece is like teaching fish about water. It's ubiquitous, it surrounds us. And so that ancient Greece, that's the main point of the cleaning out the closet drill from a couple days ago. Now, spondylus and amber, what do they illustrate? Spondylus and amber in the ancient world were used for jewelry. People want to look fancy. And if you recall, people would travel further away from the source of amber and spondylus. Spondylus was found in the Black Sea. Amber was in Denmark. That's not the relevant point, but people would travel because the further away they got, the more valuable their product became. So people traveled to make money. That's the same in the ancient world. It's the same now. You're going to go where financial opportunity is, and that is a pull migration. And that's a root of a lot of migrations throughout human history. That's just one example. Ex oriente lux means it comes from the east. So here, I'm going to take a little walk because here I am in my room for the first time. All right, here we go. There, see? Ex oriente lux. The light comes from the east. Again, Greece, our great-great-grandfather, metaphorically. The civilizations that came before them: Mesopotamia, ancient Hebrews, Egypt, Indus Valley. From Greek's vantage point, it came from the east. So what's the moral of that story? It's cultural diffusion. Cultural diffusion is the notion that we learn from others. We take other people's ideas and we make them our own. And Ex oriente lux shows that the roots of Western civilization had Eastern roots, if you buy into it. Not every historian does, but that's just the concept. And the Battle of Plataea. Battle of Plataea is a turning point. Now, going back to our Geo Histogram, if you can see Persia, big, there you go, Persia, the big orange blob. See how big it is? It's about to take over the world, and the Greeks stop it. Now, once Persia fades out back into what's modern Iran, we see the rise of Western civilization. So the Spartans were not part of Western civilization. They were a military collective, but they paved the way for Athens and what's known as the Greek Golden Age, which is the foundation of our Western Civ. So the Battle of Plataea was a real important turning point moment in the history of Western Civ. And the final question is, the Library of Alexandria. On today's class, I asked you the 5 most pivotal turning point moments in human history. I chose this as number 1 because the library, when it burnt down, set us back. We can speculate where we would be as a society if we could build upon that knowledge at the Library of Alexandria if it hadn't burned down. And again, 100 of the world's greatest scholars gathered there. And again, when scrolls and books were handwritten, they were very, very valuable. This is before the printing press. And when it burnt down, it really, really set us back. We can't even imagine. We can just speculate. In terms of who did it, lots of blame. I mean, all the religious groups were blamed. The Muslims were blamed. Jews were blamed. Christians were blamed. Pagans were blamed. Julius Caesar was blamed. Reality is we're not for certain. We just don't know. But what we do know is it did set us back a considerable distance to where we could be. So there it is. There's the video for the day, and I wish you all luck tomorrow. And let's see.